Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I'm Stu Whiffin. Joining me always, Blake Harrison. How are you?
Very good. Very good.
Big weekend of scraps.
Really big. I feel kind of exhausted from how much combat sports I've watched.
Absolutely.
If you are, obviously this is our UFC 299 post show. If you haven't seen it yet, at the same time, I think we'll be releasing our kind of reactions to the Anthony Joshua, Francis Ngannou fight and the announcement of Jake Paul, Mike Tyson as well. So a little kind of a sort of boxing show, which we very rarely ever do, but we got a little boxing thing for you there. And we've also got today, we're interviewing a young Irish fighter by the name of Rhys McKee. So that will be coming your way shortly as well. So it's a big day of records today, and also it was a big weekend of combat sports. Do we start at the very top, or do you want to tell me how you watched it or anything like that?
I want to tell you about Ferocious Fightwear.
Oh, of course he does.
They're our sponsor that Blake very nearly forgot to mention now.
How dare you? That was on the tip of my tongue.
As usual, I'm holding this shit together.
Is your back sore from carrying this show?
Oh, mate, honestly, it's cold in his shadow, but honestly, these guns just carrying him through the shows. Right, Ferocious Fightwear. They're our sponsor and they're wonderful. They do rash guards, they do shorts, they do wraps, gum shields. If you're watching this show, you can see all the stuff on the presenting desk in front of us. They're a small firm and they're growing rapidly, and it was really lovely that they reached out and asked to be involved in the show. It was really pleased to have them on board, so go check them out. They'll be tagged in all the social media posts you see with our cover art and branding and that on. Other than that, just head over to ferociousfightwear.com and check out their stuff. Right, you good?
I'm good. I wonder if Ferocious Fightwear will do pink shorts now that Sean O'Malley's in pink shorts.
Yeah, they look good, didn't they?
They did. I actually really like the pink shorts.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't pull them off, but I was a big fan of O'Malley and the pink shorts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, let's just pull up a little picture of him. There we go. I mean, he's a ball of colour, isn't he?
He's a ball of colour. He is a bit like a Fortnite skin or like a GTA character or something like that. He's definitely a bit different, but I think that's just what people are into with him, particularly those younger kids. Those younger kids, they love a bit of colour. Yeah. They like a man that's not scared to wear pink.
Yep.
And he's not. And I think it worked well. And to be fair, in terms of the UFC in general, I think we can see more of this stuff. I'd like to see more unique shorts for fighters, especially when they become champions and stuff like that, if they can get their personality out there a bit more. I mean, they did something really cool with like that Mexican style belt that they did for the Mexican fighters at one point.
Gave Bryce Mitchell his camo shorts.
Bryce Mitchell got his camo shorts, stuff like that. I know Brendan Allen and Ian Gary both want purple shorts. I'm like, I just think give it to them, especially when they reach this kind of level, which they've done with Sean here. I think it's really good. I'm a big fan of it. A bit more individuality in the sport would be really, really good.
Absolutely. Well, look, let's talk about the Sugar Show and what topped UFC 299, which was a great card, which we're going to be breaking down for you over the next hour. Top of the billing was obviously Cheeto versus Sean. Sean defending his strap. I mean, I'm going to start by saying, I've never been the biggest O'Malley fan. Masterful, absolute masterclass. His footwork for me was different level. Cheeto did not know where to start. He could not get going. And
Cheeto is notoriously, I think, a bit of a slow starter at times, but he couldn't. He had flashes of moments in round 4 and 5 where you're thinking, do that more. Do that more. And he couldn't quite do it. Whether that was down to O'Malley's footwork or whether O'Malley's power coming back at him just was making him a little bit more tentative, I don't know. But yeah.
Anyone else in there would not have got through them first 3 rounds. No. His chin is absolutely unreal. I've just pulled up the picture of that knee, which that's a sold-out arena in Miami. Everybody losing their shit. but all you could hear resonate was that knee
on his
flush
chin.
On his chin. And
Straight
he just
under
didn't
guard.
even wobble.
It was, I mean, yeah, Cheeto's not human. He is cyborg.
Yeah.
It's like that chin must be made of metal.
Yeah.
But we knew that going into this fight that he's incredibly durable.
Yeah.
I think this just really affirms it even more than we thought it possibly was. If any of those big shots that he landed, particularly that knee, land on Merab, or land on maybe a Sandhagen or someone like that, I think it's night-night. I think there's very few people in the bantamweight division that take that shot and maybe a couple of the punches that were landed by O'Malley at points as well and keep going.
Yeah.
And credit to O'Malley, he must have been working really hard with his cardio and stuff because his fight style, he bounces around a lot, he moves around a lot, and he throws with power. He's not point fighting, he's throwing with power. And that's going to take it out of you to do that over 5 rounds. And he did it, but he must have known that getting Cheeto out of there was going to be incredibly difficult.
Yeah, and it was, because, you know, that chin is ridiculous. And I think, like you say, Sugar's movement didn't stop. I mean, the stats on punches thrown was obviously ridiculously one-sided. I felt for Cheeto. I think he, you know, DC and that was saying he's just got to bite down there and just throw. And it's like, that's easier said than done when you've got the movement of Sean O'Malley, and whenever you're getting in range, you're getting hit constantly. I think looking at this, I mean, it was just an absolute dominant performance.
50-44 on one judge's scorecard. I don't know which round they gave the 10-8. I didn't look that up, but I mean, Jesus, it was dominant for pretty much the whole fight. It really was a special performance from O'Malley. I think you know, it's one of those ones where I think he's been like a sort of TikTok star for a while, in a sense that, you know, a lot of younger fans really like him because of what he does on social media and all that kind of stuff, and the way he dresses and looks and does his hair and all that kind of stuff. And his fight style has always been really fun. Really, really fun.
The crowd weren't with him, though. The crowd were with Cheeto.
Well, it was Miami. It was that kind of like Latin American kind of vibe there and everything. But again, he's gone over to enemy territory, put on a performance like that. I mean, I think some of the narratives going into this was, is Sean O'Malley breakable? Like in terms of what Cheeto did to him previously with the leg kick. We've never really seen.
Though,
I think it was, and I think we sort of said that on the show that we can't. You can't take much from that because it wasn't an accumulation of calf kicks like we've seen before. It was like it's hit some kind of nerve.
Spasmed
he had that drop foot thing. It's just one of those things. But I definitely don't need to see any form of trilogy. I think it's very definitive who the better fighter is.
Clearly,
and the narrative going into this fight was, you know, and I wondered it myself. Could Cheeto weather the first 3 rounds, which he did? And then, like Izzy Pereira won, come out in that 5th round, kill or be killed, and hit him with something big, and O'Malley breaks. But he didn't, because at one point O'Malley's nose was leaking, and he kept coming and he kept throwing. And when he was clipped with shots, he went, okay, I'll hit you with more. And I think that's actually made me learn a lot more about Sean in terms of his own, I don't necessarily want to say durability, because you can't compare Cheeto and Sean O'Malley, but like durability or anything like that. But when things get a bit tougher, Sean is still there and he's still going. We saw a little bit of that in the Petty Arm fight, but I think definitely in this one, he had that moment right at the end of round 5, Cheeto, where he landed that punch to the body that like Sean took a moment and sat against the cage after the fight to kind of recover from that. If that happened in round 4, I don't think he does the sitting against the cage thing. I think he wanted to do that because he was like, oh, that end of 5 rounds, we're done now. But I think anyone that might be thinking, oh, maybe that last shot could have found I don't think so. I think that happens in round 4. He goes back, sits on his stool, takes some deep breaths, recovers. But yeah, and what this has done for me, I suppose we'll talk about what is next for Sean. But what this has done for me is it's made me think there were fights out there in the bantamweight division and maybe Topuria up a weight class where I was not giving him a huge amount of a chance other than like a puncher's chance. And I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like he can avoid certain things and do very, very well on the back foot. And
let's discuss this then, because post-fight he called out to Poirier, book me a flight to Spain. You know, he wants to go and fight to Poirier in his backyard. I mean, it's a fun fight. I don't really want to see that right now.
No.
Okay? If you want to see me knock out Merab, I'll do that. Merab deserves that shot, right?
100%.
One name he left well out of his mouth was Corey Sandhagen.
Yeah.
I think that's the bad matchup for Sugar. I think Sandhagen is very similar in stature.
Yep.
You know, throws really good at range, got great footwork, very well rounded. I think that's the fight that we could get the super, super exciting fight. I think Sugar beats Merab. To Poirier, yeah, it's exciting. Of course it is. It's him going up to fight the new champ. I'd like to see to Poirier. I mean, did Poirier say something like, "You've got business with Merab. Take care of that first, then come and see me."
Maybe, which is that Georgian connection.
Course,
He's looking out for his
so.
buddy, and I really like that.
Yeah.
Because I have to say, I think other than maybe the rematch with Volk, and even maybe including the rematch with Volk, Topuria earns more money fighting Sean O'Malley than anyone else in that featherweight division.
Completely.
Now I'm second guessing myself. Do you reckon he earns more money than if he fights Max Holloway?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tricky one. But Sean is up there as like one of the biggest stars in the sport at the moment. And Topuria could defend against him. And I think he'd be the favourite in that fight as well. It'd be a great bag of money for him. And it'd be a great bag of money for the UFC, I would imagine. However, I, like you, don't want to see it. I don't want to hold up these two divisions. These two are two of the best divisions in the sport. There's plenty of contenders going around. It's not like there's a dearth of contenders or anything like that. There is a number of contenders you can get to fight Ilia Topuria. There's a number of contenders you can get to fight Sean O'Malley. I agree with you that I think Sandhagen could stylistically be the worst matchup for O'Malley. So there's reason why I didn't say that fight. However, I do think Merab is ahead of Sandhagen at the moment. I also worry that maybe that fight never happens because I think there's a strong possibility that Sandhagen takes the Umar Nurmagomedov fight. And as much as I'd love to see Sandhagen win, I would worry for him in that fight because Umar is just very, very special as well. So, yeah, I don't know. It'd be an interesting one to see what happens with him. But I think if the UFC did the Topuria fight, it would be great business. It would do very well. It would be very exciting on the socials. I think the build-up would be great. I think they talk to each other a lot, and it could be a lot of fun. But imagine if O'Malley beats Merab, and then O'Malley were to beat a Sandhagen or someone like that. If Topuria were to beat Volk again, Topuria then beats a Max Holloway, a Brian Ortega.
It's a super, super
and
fight.
Then they do that fight in a stadium in Spain or whatever it is. It would be astronomical. And I know that a lot of dominoes have to fall in the right way. Either guy could potentially lose. But I think that makes it a way bigger and more interesting fight. And anyone that's listened to this show for a long time knows that I have that thing of like, I don't want to see an immediate rematch for a champion, and I don't want to see champions going up a weight class to fight for another belt unless they've had at least 3 title defenses. That's just his first one.
The rules.
There's
the rules. Them's
the rules. Them's the rules.
What's next for Cheeto? I mean, arrest.
Oh, definitely arrest. Fix that face. That
Sean
eye.
Had his foot wrapped and was in a boot and had his hand wrapped as well. By the looks of things, I see he
did.
Yeah,
I think he said he had surgery on his foot a while ago, and so it's something that flares up. So he's hoping it's not anything too serious. Cheeto, I mean, his eye was almost closed up at one point. It looked like he was blinking things out a lot. I don't know. You could get him to fight Petr Yan. I'm not overly keen on that fight. I think it'd be a fun fight. I think as a spectacle, it'd be a really good fight. But I think there's a lot of contenders in that bantamweight division I'd like to see get more shots and fight up in the weight class. And I think that there are people like, I'm just going to try and pull up the rankings now. You know, there's people like Figueiredo is fighting Garbrandt at UFC 300. And I think I include Cheeto and Yan in the same sort of bracket here. Yan's coming off 3 losses, just got 1 back. Cheeto just coming off this loss. These are guys that are ranked 4th and 5th. I'd like to see guys in that kind of, I don't know, like 15 to 8 range or whatever it would be, get a shot of fighting above and have a go. You've got Umar. I think that he will fight Sandhagen, but I'm more than happy for Umar to fight Jan. Less so Cheeto, because I think the path to victory is too easy because Cheeto will get taken down and dominated. I think Jonathan Martinez is potentially a good one. And Kyler Phillips, who beat Munoz. I mean, he'll be ranked 13th. He put on a great performance in the prelims of this. Him versus Cheeto is an absolute banger of a fight. That would be a phenomenal fight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd like to see the lower-ranked guys get more of an opportunity against those guys. But if they did Jan versus Cheeto, I wouldn't complain.
Well, we saw exactly what you've just mentioned in the fight before that. We saw Dustin Poirier take on Benoit Saint Denis, who was ranked 11th or 12th?
Something like that, yeah.
And I mean, a crazy fight for Dustin to take. You know, we've often spoke that Dustin seems to be loitering in that top 5, waiting for them big fights and clogging up, you know, amongst other fighters in that division, clogging it up. And fair play for him for taking on an absolute killer in Benoit Saint Denis. I thought in the opening round, Benoit looked fantastic. I thought he looked dominant. I was getting worried for Dustin. Dustin was starting to look a little tired. He was going for them guillotines, but Benoit was shaking him off and throwing big elbows, big shots.
He had one great escape as well, Benoit, where he kind of flipped over on his head, almost like bridging from his head. Yeah. It was an amazing escape.
But the Diamond just done what the Diamond does, and you get in the trenches with him, mate. Like you're in for a rough ride, and Benoit got in them trenches and didn't get out, and just ridiculous. I watched that at about whatever time it was, 5 a.m. When he hit him and put him down, I literally said, "Holy shit!" at the top of my voice when he threw the last shot when he was on the floor.
Oh my God.
Probably woke my household up, but it was just never right off Dustin Poirier. And, I mean, unfortunately, he didn't win the belt last year. He's got a chance to win it this year.
Like, we're going to get onto this.
You didn't pull the face as much as you normally pull it now.
No, because here's the thing.
Right. We're going to get onto who he's got to beat, right? And that's a tall order.
That's
is he
my
that
problem.
far off?
We'll get into this.
All right.
I'm going to say now, I think he gets the shot. I think he gets the shot. I do. I mean, look, I want to go back to the fight itself because the pace of it was insane. Benoit Saint Denis, so exciting. Won the first round for my money. Some elbows on the ground.
Yeah, 100%.
Nasty knees. He did really well. Absolute savage. But there's something about Poirier, and we said this. The fight didn't end exactly this way, but I felt like the beginning of the end of the fight came about how we sort of predicted it. Benoit is reckless when he's chasing those takedowns sometimes, and he's throwing wild hooks to back you up against the fence.
You want a dirty box with Poirier?
Poirier with his back against the fence, if you're going to throw hands with him, I don't know if there's anyone better. He's so crisp with his timing. He's got power. He dropped Benoit down on one knee at one point, maybe in the first round or something. But that's how that happens. Like, you've got a shot here on the big screen of obviously Benoit landing on Dustin.
Yeah.
But Dustin with his back to the cage in these sort of wars, I don't think there's anyone better than him.
Yeah.
He's got durability. He's got accuracy. He's got power.
He's got experience.
And I think Benoit will go away from this fight and learn and come back stronger because he implemented a decent game plan to begin with where he was like, use that wrestling. Use it because Dustin's got a hole in his grappling. He's a good grappler, don't get me wrong, but he's not the level of some of the better wrestlers in the division. And that's what worries me about the Islam fight. But Benoit had a really good game plan with that.
Yeah.
And then sort of just fell into habit.
I think this could be his Gaethje moment where he stops and thinks, all right, I need to fight a little bit more with my head, not with my heart.
Yeah.
And take stock of this because he looked ferocious and it was so exciting. This was my fight of the night.
Yeah.
And I think it won fight of the night as well.
I think it did.
So I'm glad that Benoit got 50 Gs for that first round. But I think this might be that fight where he does sort of go, right, look, the fans love what I'm doing, but this isn't necessarily going to be. That said, anyone else, would they have weathered that storm?
I don't know. I mean, there's certain people in the division. I think there's levels, and I think that Dustin just showed he was that level above. Now, Benoit could still go on a run against the people that are more under the Dustin Poirier level, get a few wins, and then build back up to that level, and maybe he will achieve that because he will go away. He's improved. He's only about 27 years old. He's got a lot of improving. He's got time to improve. You know?
Everyone's going to be excited to watch him fight again.
Benoit Saint-Denis is never in a boring fight.
Yeah.
So the UFC will always book him well, I think. I mean, in terms of what's next for him, I don't know when Rafael Fiziev is coming back, but that is chaos.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of that fight. That is, I mean, the only worry with that would be Fiziev is a great striker. If Benoit does that kind of shit, he could be looking at 2 knockout losses on the bounce. And maybe that's not the best for a young BSD. Maybe he needs not a gimme fight, but something a bit more chilled than that. But I tell you what, I would love a bit of BSD Dan Hooker. I don't know what Dan Hooker's got coming up next. I might have to quickly Google if Dan Hooker's got a fight booked.
I don't think he has.
If Dan Hooker is free, give me Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Dan Hooker.
I've got to be honest, I don't think that goes well for Dan Hooker.
Dan Hooker doesn't have a fight. He had a cancelled fight. I think he broke his arm, didn't he? He was supposed to fight Bobby Green. Maybe they would rebook that, but Bobby Green lost to Jalen Turner, so that fight's a bit
Who did I see Jalen Turner's just been announced to fight?
Jalen Turner, has he been announced?
Yeah,
he is fighting Renato Moicano at 300, which is a lovely, fun fight. I really like Jalen Turner. I changed it. Not Fiziev. Give me Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis, please.
I think Benoit could easily do an Arnold Allen on Dan Hooker and just steamroll him.
So? Be great.
You love Dan Hooker.
I love Dan Hooker. I want to see it. I want to see it, man. Give me that. The 2 guys that were just like, Dan Hooker's a beast. And Benoit is like, give me that fight. Yeah. I mean, maybe Dan Hooker needs someone that is ranked higher. I don't know. I'm trying to pull up now where...
I don't
Dan
think
Hooker is ranked and what he's been
going to be affected by
lately.
This. I think this is I think this could be a really positive thing for Benoit in a weird way. I think he's going to take stock of his fight style and tailor it a little calmer, because that was, like I say, it was furious that first round, and it was so fast paced, and I'd been interested to see where he would have been had that got to the 5th round, because we know that Dustin can dig deep. That said, Dustin did look tired as well in that first round.
He did, because the pace was insane that Benoit put on him. It was a really tough pace. Yeah. But let's talk more about Dustin then. What a great moment for him. As you were mentioning the kind of lightweight squatters there, which I think we have to stop that now. I think
you're pleased with that, aren't you?
What the
lightweight squatters?
Lightweight squatters. The thing is that Gaethje sort of was the first one, I feel, to break that by fighting Fiziev in London. Was that last year? Then we've had Oliveira versus Dariush. Then we've had now Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Michael Chandler, he's doing what he's doing. He's waiting for Conor. You can't blame him, because it would, in a lot of ways, make him a much bigger star. Could be a huge payday for him, although Donald Cerrone came out recently and was like, well, no, I got my UFC contract money. It wasn't like a huge payday fighting Conor. Yeah, I know. It's surprising. I think he was on some podcast saying that. So, yeah, I don't know how much truth in that there is. It's what Donald said, I believe, on a podcast. We'll have to wait and see. But I think Dustin now is in that situation where he could be the front runner to fight Islam Makhachev. If Islam wants to fight in June, then I can't imagine the Gaethje Holloway fight being ended quickly. Do they want to turn around and fight Islam in like 7-8 weeks? I don't think so. Arman Sarukian versus Oliveira. I don't think Oliveira will... but then the thing is, Oliveira is training for Arman, who's got a lot of Islam's attributes. So maybe he'll be like, look, I've done a training camp for this. I'll do a training camp for that. It'd be absolutely fine. I can do this. But I think Oliveira values himself a lot to go, no, I want a proper full training camp. I really want to take my time with this. My last chance fighting Islam for the belt. So then if Arman wins, I think he's in a spot where it's like, okay, you've got Arman who could fight for the belt, who is not really a star, although in my opinion is the most interesting stylistic matchup for Islam Makhachev, or you got Dustin Poirier, who's a huge star.
That's just done that.
Just done that, but don't forget, he only lost his last fight. Arman's probably on like a however many fight win streak, and the Gamrot fight that he lost, I think he won. Dustin is 1-1 in his last 2 fights. Should he be getting a title shot? No. But he's Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, man.
He's Dustin Poirier. He's a big star.
Yeah.
People love him. He's all action. I just don't find the fight with Islam and him overly competitive. And that is my issue with it. If Benoit Saint-Denis did that to him, Islam, I think, could potentially, who I think is a good striker and a really good defensive striker, Islam Makhachev, I think he has the potential to take Dustin down and just
bore the shit out of everyone.
Maybe, or not even bore the shit. I don't think Dustin's that great on the ground, and I think Dustin could get submitted early. But equally, I think Islam, more so than like Khabib, more so than BSD, can hang with him on the feet a little bit. I'm not saying he's the better striker. I think Dustin is the better boxer by far. But I think Islam is good enough defensively and has enough tools to go, I can handle what I need to handle on the feet to allow me to get the takedowns. And then it gets into a bit of jiu-jitsu and Dustin's struggling a bit. That's what I see. So I'm not overly excited about Dustin Islam, but I think that is a fight. If Islam's fighting in June, I think this is potentially the front runner to be the fight.
The MVP made his debut.
Oh, my God.
Former guest of the show, Michael Venom Page.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about the walkout? Is that some wrestling thing?
Yeah, The Undertaker, mate. It's The Undertaker. I was buzzing for it.
I could tell people were losing their shit, and I was thinking, I bet this is some nerdy wrestling thing.
It's The Undertaker, man. Been around for like 20 years or something.
Is that what Thingy done? Was that The Undertaker?
Adesanya did a bit of Undertaker as well, but he did it with the hat and the urn.
Yeah.
Whereas MVP, I'd not known the Undertaker to ever have like a cape or anything like that, so he didn't do that. But he just did like.
Was that the music?
The music, yeah. I don't know if he had a celebration planned for if he KO'd him, in which case that would have tied into the Undertaker theme. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But obviously he just did a kind of, I've won, respectful, whatever, move on. But there's been some hate on MVP in this fight. I don't understand it. A lot of people saying it was very boring. How do you feel about it? Because I disagree with that massively.
I thought it was really good.
I thought it was really exciting.
I don't know what was not to like about that. Yes, he's evasive, but that's his fight style. And he's got that fantastic karate style of that sort of, where he just comes from nowhere, from so far out. And I think Kevin Holland did not know how to deal with that. No. He was like, he's literally the other side of the octagon, and within a split second, bang, he's over there. And I think in the first round, he's like, man, he's faster than we thought.
Yeah.
And I think, I guess the easiest thing to say is, as MVP coming to the UFC too late in his career, is he too old? That style relies on speed, and that speed's going to deteriorate with age. We didn't see that at the weekend. No. I thought his striking looked fantastic. I thought some of the elbows that he came in with.
Oh, the spinning elbows. Oh, mate.
Fantastic.
Again, Kevin Holland's chin, a bit like Cheeto, is like, this guy's never been knocked out. Yeah. He had the fight with Wonderboy, again, similar style, where he'd broken his hand in that fight and never took him down because he had that deal with him. Yeah. And the fight got stopped on the stool because I think he was just busted up in the corner. We're like, mate, your hand's broken, you're busted up, let's end this. But he didn't get knocked out. It's down as a TKO victory, but he was not finished in the classical sense as we know it. Again, I think anyone else is in there with MVP and he lands those big right hands, those spinning elbows and stuff like that. I think people are asleep. Yeah. I think Kevin Holland's got a ridiculous chin on him.
It was great. I love the fact there was a bit of banter between them, like in the clinches and stuff like that. I'm all over it. I thought a little bit of showboating from MVP, not too much, but like some cool bits.
When he knocked him down and he was just like wobbling, like taking the mick out of him, I was just loving it.
Yeah.
I was loving it. I don't know what it is, because it's so almost like childish and fun, I don't find it quite as disrespectful as maybe it actually is. I don't know. I sort of find it as just fun.
And what I would say to anyone that thinks he's a flash bastard and cocky, go and watch our episode with MVP when he came in here. He is, and if any of you's watched any of the media leading up to this, like, he's one of the nicest, sweetest, like, guys ever.
Really
so humble, so respectful. There was a lovely bit of footage of them bumping into each other at the Fighters Hotel, and you know, and they had a hug and they were chatting and getting on, and obviously when it comes to, you know, the face-offs and that, MVP does his signature move, and it was just an exciting fight. There was a little kind of crack on the buzzer, wasn't there? That I think. Hang on, there was a little shot on the buzzer, I think, that
Kevin Holland get upset about it. Yeah.
And then was there another bit when he went to shake his hand, wasn't it, for the third round?
Oh, he went to touch her, but MVP just leapt in and hit him. But I think, MVP like genuinely apologised and like let him up and like he just wasn't thinking that
he's
was
not
happening.
That guy. Like,
I don't think he's that guy. He's not like a cheap shot guy, I don't think.
Not at all.
But I could see there was a lot of people hating on MVP.
Yeah.
Saying that his style was boring. For me, my heart was in my mouth for a lot of that fight because I felt like MVP is so like, I say, so explosive and travels a long distance to make his strikes that if you get someone with the speed to counter-strike him, he could fall into something dangerous really quickly. There was one moment where I think he got his leg kicked and you see him get up covering himself because it had shades of the Diego Lima leg kick, uppercut, knockout. So there's peril and there's danger every time MVP's about to leap forward, whether he's about to knock out his opponent or get knocked out himself or taken down. And we saw Kevin Holland, who's not the best wrestler, get him down at one point. I think there was maybe a mistake from MVP that led to it, but he got him down. It does make you fearful of him fighting wrestlers and stuff like that, but I want to see him fight some of the better guys in this division. Kevin Holland, outside of maybe Diego Lima, is arguably the best fighter. Maybe Logan Storley, I'm not sure, but he's arguably the best fighter that MVP's definitely beat. A lot of people think that MVP beat Logan Storley, even though it's down on scorecards as Logan's win. But there's not many people that MVP has fought to the level of Kevin Holland. And now that he did that to him, and I think just 30-27'd him, no problem, I want to see him tested again. I want to see him go up against some of the better guys in the division.
For people to diss that fight style and that performance, Wonderboy is one of the most loved fighters in the division. It's not that dissimilar from a Wonderboy fight. You know, it's that point karate style, and you're always fearful that the wrestler's going to get him and take him down, and it's going to, you know, really conflict with their fight style. No one's hating on Wonderboy. And it's like, I just think he's come to the UFC.
Is it because of the brash nature of some of his
and the kind of little bit of showboating, but of course he's going to showboat. That's what you want from MVP. That's why he's got that highlight reel. That's why people want him in the UFC. If he was Johnny Humble in the octagon...
Johnny Humble? If he was Johnny
Humble... Johnny the Rumble Humble, mate. He was a fighter, he was.
What a ledge.
Oh, mate, missed that guy. But you want some showmanship. It's fun. And it's like, you know, when you come out being playing the role of the wrestler, that's all about the showmanship and the fun. And I think if MVP would have gone in there and just been really boring, then I think it's like, oh, this was all the hype. And he wasn't. He was super exciting. He was throwing fantastic shots and he absolutely dominated Kevin Holland and done some showmanship. And I love it. I love it. And I don't know what there is to hate on.
Well, look, what do we think could be next for him then? Because Dana White did say that he's going to have to match make carefully for MVP. He sort of said, maybe careful wasn't the right word, but he did say the matchmaking, we're going to have to think about how we match make for him. And I don't know whether that means because we want to protect him from wrestlers, or is it because we want to actually go, this guy's 36, he is not getting any younger, his style is one that, you know, you need to do well whilst you've still got that speed and explosivity. Do we throw him right up the rankings quickly? Do we want to see an England versus England title fight down the line with Leon versus MVP?
Yes, we do.
That's the kind of things that the UFC and Dana will be thinking about. They'll have the pound signs in their eyes going, how can we monetize this guy the best? So it'd be interesting to see how they do this. How do you think they will do this? Because judging by the rankings, Kevin Holland was 13th, so MVP come Tuesday morning, this may already be out by then, will be ranked 13th in the UFC. So who do you match him up against?
I haven't got the listings in front of me.
I've got them here if you want to have a quick look. So we got, obviously, Leon Champ, Usman number 1, Bilal Muhammad number 2, Shavkat 3, Burns 4, but he'll probably be replaced by JDM. Colby 5, Gary 6, Sean Brady 7, Wonderboy 8, Jeff Neal 9, Luke A 10, Jack Della currently 11, but he'll be up the rankings after beating Burns, and then Neil Magny, and then 13th would be MVP. Luke's a really good fight. I like that. I think Luke is booked to fight someone, but I think it's someone who he's probably favoured to beat. Let me just try and look that up.
Who's Brady got next?
Oh, see, that's when you start getting into the wrestlers, though. And that's when I go, oh, is that what you want to do? But maybe that is the right thing to do.
I mean, I think Gary's got his eyes on the prize at the moment. I think that
he's got his eyes on Colby, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But I don't know if Colby would take that fight or not. It does make a lot of sense for Colby to take that fight. There's not many fights for him to take. Yeah. Maybe Colby would go for MVP. Stylistically, he'd go, I've got a chance against this guy. If I just get him down and pressure him, cardio him, I'll smash him up. So maybe that's the case. Luke's fighting Joaquin Buckley coming up soon. So if Luke gets past that, maybe that's a good shout for MVP. Stylistically, I think it's a very good shout for MVP. But in terms of, let's just be a bit exciting.
Go on.
So I keep hearing rumours that maybe the Manchester card is not going to be a pay-per-view, but it's going to be a fight night.
Right.
Which I'm not happy about. I want it to be a pay-per-view. I think the right thing to do is Leon Bilal. That makes all the sense in the world. That is the right thing to do. And if you do that...
Oh, get to it, man.
Why don't you just do on the card as either a co-main or as like a, look, this is potentially like a number one contender fight, something like that. Obviously, you've got a sort of Shavkat.
Why don't he just fucking say what he's thinking? Come on.
In London.
Go on.
Or Manchester, sorry. MVP and Ian Gary.
Yes, mate. Yes, mate.
That'd be great, wouldn't it? Amazing. And the winner of that probably gets a title shot next. Shavkat will probably be in front of them. But the winner of that, give him a title shot. I know Gary wants Colby, and that's a very good call out, and it makes all the sense in the world. But I really like the idea of that. I think just give MVP someone like Gary who can grapple, but is a very, very good striker. It'll be a super interesting stylistic matchup. Again, I think they'll talk a little bit. I think there'll be a bit of something to lead up to the fight. And it fast tracks MVP to a potential title shot. And Ian Gary, if he wins, he's right up there. Because it's a big high profile fight. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I'd like to see it as...
Mate, I'm all over it.
And I know that we sort of we've interviewed Ian a few times and we really like Ian. And to me, a lot of the Irish fighters, they might hate me saying this, but I support them like Brits a lot of the time. I like the British and Irish fighters, and the two of them in the cage together. Winner gets a title shot. There's a lot at stake.
Absolutely.
I'm all for it. I really like that idea.
Yeah, I'm down with it. Great shout. Somebody called out Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Yes. It's such a good call out. We're talking about young welterweights at the moment that are smashing it. You've got to mention Ian Gary. You've got to mention Shavkat Rakhmonov. MVP is now, I'm not necessarily young, but he's now in the mix as this fresh talent in the welterweight division. Sean Brady is out there. No one's really talking about him much at the moment, though. And Jack Della Maddalena felt like he was almost the forgotten prospect in this division.
Not anymore.
Split decision against Chavez, short notice, and Chavez was like a nobody coming into UFC on his debut. Split decision against Kevin Holland. Some people thought Holland won that fight. Again, doesn't exactly make you skyrocket up the rankings. But you finish Gilbert Burns in the manner that he did with that knee and that ground and pound. Hey, now we're talking about you. And then what you do after that was exactly what he did. Call out Shavkat. Call out the guy that no one wants to fight. Because even though potentially it's a bad stylistic matchup for you, go for it. Because if you win that fight, then you leapfrog everyone.
Yeah.
You leapfrog everyone. And no, I don't think he will beat Shavkat. But what else does he do? Start skirting around, I might fight Sean Brady. Or I might fight. You lose to them maybe, and then no one cares because you lost to someone that
You fight Shavkat and put in a good
about.
performance. Even if you don't win, your stock goes up. And again,
I agree.
People now know Jack Della Maddalena is now. And I think you then go, give me Shavkat. No one else is saying, give me Shavkat. No one.
No one wants Shavkat.
And I think, yeah, props to him. And I thought, what? I mean, Gilbert, I thought looked great. But yeah, I mean,
I think Gilbert potentially could have won that fight on the scorecards before that knee.
Oh, 100%.
I think, was it Burns got a bit of ground and pound at the end of round one. Maybe stole that round, but maybe JDM did enough earlier with the strikes. Round two, I think Burns added a couple of big shots in that round and maybe won that. It was close-ish, but I think that Burns could have been, on some scorecards, I haven't checked the scorecards, 2 up or 1-1, I don't know. And then in that third round, he got him down a couple of times. He did really well with it. But then when he lost position and Jack spun out against the fence, came up, and he knew Burns was just going to shoot straight away. Timed that knee to perfection. And again, I bet in my head, I know that obviously you got to account for the size difference, but that knee didn't seem as flush as Sean O'Malley's knee on Cheeto.
No.
And that just shows you how powerful those knees are in that situation. Burns went down, ground and pound was vicious. And yeah, got that finish in the end. And again, maybe we could look up the scorecards, but I haven't seen them. I don't know if he was losing that fight or winning it or what on the scorecards at that point.
He would have been behind on the scorecards.
Yeah. So, I mean, phenomenal stuff for him. And now he's in the top 5.
Yeah.
Incredible. Brilliant for him. And to call out Shavkat.
Love it.
Great call out.
Want to talk about Yudong?
I would love to talk about Yudong. This picture's really worrying me. If you're watching this on YouTube, his fist is like just in his neck. It's just, But
he's an angry man, Peter Yan, isn't he?
He does seem like he's got a bit of short man syndrome.
At the weigh-in, at the face-off, he was just aggy, and it's just like Yudong just seemed really happy to be there.
Yeah,
and he was just like, huh? What are you doing?
I thought Yudong was always happy to be there. He's just happy to take part.
Absolutely. And I mean, solid fight. I thought Yudong looked good. I thought Peter Yan looked good.
Good. It was a good fight. Solid fight. I thought it was hard to score round one. I lent Song, but that's classic for Petr Yan fights. He sort of doesn't suit 3-round fights because he usually gives up round one and then he's got to claw it back in 2 and 3. But he did that in this fight. Did really well. Landed some good strikes. Uppercuts. Landed some ground and pound. Took it down in round 2. Round 3. Came on strong towards the end. I don't know, Leah. I mean, Yan needed this win so badly.
To quote O'Malley, he's 1 fight away from bare knuckle, which I thought was fucking hilarious because he probably weren't far off the money.
I don't know about that because when you look at the manner in which he's lost and the people he's lost to, previous champion, the current champion, the guy who's next fighting for the belt could be the future champion, who knows? He's not, and only in the Marab fight did he get absolutely smashed. In the other fights, it was split decision. But here's the thing. Just because he's won this fight, I don't think that means he gets to fight upwards in the rankings, and I don't think it means that he can start calling the shots of what he wants next. I think the only fight upwards in the rankings he could potentially get is if Umar and Sandhagen don't fight each other and Sandhagen's like, I want to get the Petr Yan fight back because he lost a close fight to Yan a little while ago. If he wants to get that fight back and fight Yan, that maybe makes some sense and Yan can see himself fighting someone upwards in the rankings.
What does that do for Corey? I think
he has to get one more. What does fighting Umar do for Corey?
Well, yeah, I guess.
Like, none of it's good. Sandhagen is the type of guy that I go, you should really be fighting for the belt. However, Merab is ahead of you. So you're not going to fight for the belt next. You have to leave it up to Merab, which means unless you want to
gotta
wait
fight.
around for
Yeah.
ages and maybe lose some momentum, which he's not got a huge amount of anyway at the
Yeah.
moment because he was injured and stuff.
It's a better fight than Umar,
He has to
isn't
fight.
it?
And it's a better fight than Umar, I think. But then maybe Sandhagen thinks otherwise. I mean, we know Jan at his best is a top fighter. Umar has not fought any of the kind of best of the best yet, but he just looks great. And that Nurmagomedov name just does a lot for you in terms of how I see him, how the fans see him, all that stuff. So, yeah, maybe he gets a Sandhagen fight. Otherwise, maybe he gets Cheeto.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would actually really want to see the Umar fight. I think Jan Umar is a fight I'd really like to see.
He's a big boy, isn't he?
He's a big boy.
We're talking Curtis Blades. I mean,
Well, I said in the build up to this, size matters, and Jailton will find himself in big trouble when he goes up against the bigger guys that can grapple. This is not the way I thought it would play out, though,
Well, he didn't
because
lose-
he absolutely dominated
Yeah.
Curtis in the grappling in round one, and I was mouth open, shocked throughout that whole round.
Yeah.
I did not expect that at all, and it's made me think even higher of Jailton Almeida that he was able to do that.
Yeah.
However, in the end, size did matter, just not the manner
Yeah.
in which I thought it would. It mattered in terms of you can't get hit by these big boys if you're not a big guy
it
with
was
a huge,
just
great chin.
relentless hammer strikes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And very similar to the who done that to Paul Craig. God, who was it?
It wasn't Johnny Walker, was it? But Johnny Walker caught him on the way in, I think.
Somebody had like literally just hammer fist, and finished Paul Craig.
Can't remember.
Yeah, very similar to that, and yeah, then Blades, rightly so, called out Tom Aspinall.
Yep.
Said we got unfinished business. Tom's replied saying, "Yep, like 100%, he's on it."
Makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah,
It is a tough fight for Tom, though.
it's a tough fight for Curtis Blades.
Yeah, but I think there are easier fights in the division for Tom. I
Yeah,
think there's a lot of easier fights in the division for Tom, actually,
But
including John Jones, in my opinion.
yeah, I agree. Well, we've both always said that Blades is stylistically probably the most competitive match for Tom Aspinall.
I think so.
You know, we see him dispatch with a big striker very easily in Pavlovich, but Pavlovich has not got the athleticism and wrestling that Curtis Blades has got.
No.
Obviously, we very nearly saw what might become of that fight in their first matchup, but obviously very early on, Tom got injured and that was all she wrote. So it makes sense to roll it back.
I tell you what, though, just in terms of the Tom fight, this fight with Jailton from Blades has made me think, actually, maybe this isn't as difficult a fight for Tom as I originally thought.
Go on.
Because if Jailton was able to
ragdoll him.
dominate Blades so convincingly in that first round with the grappling, I mean, granted, he got off 0 damage, Jailton. He barely hit him once, but he was just mat return. Tom will be, again, 2 stone heavier than Jailton. He might look at that Jailton thing and go, I can do that. And when I get him down, I'll be heavier and my jiu-jitsu's really good. I'll be able to do that to him. Mat return, tire him out, get on the feet. I've got way better boxing and striking than Jailton. And maybe Curtis Blades, being the brilliant wrestler that he is, maybe his defensive wrestling isn't as good as we thought it was. And Tom could really test that along with the striking.
Where do you reckon that fight takes place? Because Blades a fan favourite? I don't think so.
No, he's not a fan favourite at all. But he's already headlined with Tom in London. Tom's now got the belt. It makes all the sense in the world that you do that fight because Stipe and Jones just aren't happening. And there's no one else out there in that heavyweight division that makes sense right now. You could do Cyril Gane, but I think Blades has earned it more. And I think because he technically has that win over Tom that isn't really a win, it makes sense to do that fight.
And Tom's going to want to right that wrong, isn't he?
I think so. Now, if Manchester is a pay-per-view, you do it in Manchester. You get Blades back over. Do it in Manchester. It just makes so much sense to have Tom fight there and headline the card. You could do Leon Bilal as well, or you could do Leon Bilal somewhere else. But Tom in Manchester makes a lot of sense. Could do MVP. It would be a fantastic card for British fans. But if Manchester is just a fight night, you can't waste a belt on the fight night. So even though it's just an interim belt, I think you do. I don't know. Because, do you know what? I don't know. Surely you wouldn't headline 301 in Rio with an Englishman versus an American.
No.
I don't think so. But we were saying that if Jailton won, you could do it because you've got a Brazilian there. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe they do because they're just like, look, it's the heavyweights. Everyone loves the heavyweights. So maybe they just do that. And then Pantoja can, I don't know, co-main. I don't know. We'll see. Gamrot RDA. Yeah, it was one of those ones where Gamrot did the Gamrot thing after, I think, I mean, Gamrot's usually a really exciting grappler, I think. But I think RDA is so good and well-rounded that actually he made it difficult for Gamrot. I think maybe Gamrot lost that first round.
Definitely lost the first
big
round.
strikes from RDA. And then, and then Gamrot won the next two. As I said, Gamrot was sort of the last ranked guy in that lightweight tournament that we were talking about that's taking place Saturday and 300, but he did nothing to help his cause.
Was not what he needed that night. He could have really put a stamp on a legend like RDA, and if he would have got a really exciting finish, I think people would have been talking about him. There was so many better fights that followed this and were before this that fight gets forgotten.
I agree. I think Gamrot's ranked 6th. If Arman Sarukian beats Charles Oliveira, maybe Gamrot gets the Oliveira fight. But if that doesn't happen, I don't know where he goes, really. If Gaethje loses to Holloway, does he get Gaethje? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he gets to do next. Unless if Fiziev... I think Fiziev's going to be out for a while. When he comes back, they could redo that fight because Fiziev got injured in their fight previously. But again, I'm not looking... Benoit Saint-Denis... But then Benoit coming off a loss. Gamrot's probably on a 2 or 3 fight win streak now or something like that.
Is he going to want to mess with a smoker Benoit?
I don't think he'll mind messing with the smoker Benoit so much. I think it's just that he's like, well, no, he was coming off 2 losses. Oh no, this is someone else. I've completely messed that up. Someone else's topology page in front of me now. But yeah, let's see. Gamrot was on he's now on a 3-fight win streak after beating Turner, Fiziev. Injury,
he's not
and
gonna,
RDA.
I don't think he's going to go for Benoit.
It's not right for, even if I don't think he's worried or afraid of Benoit or anything. I think it's more like, I'm on a 3-fight win streak.
Yeah,
why am I fighting guy on a loss?
It's
just that makes no sense.
Absolutely.
He's just fought behind him as well with RDA.
Yeah.
It makes all the sense in the world that he maybe gets someone in front of him. So I think he's got to see what happens at 300. Who loses? And if it's Oliveira that loses, I think that's the fight to go for. Macy Barber against Saramana, formerly Chukagian. Good gritty performance from Barber. Not got much to say about it. It was actually quite a decent fight. But no interview afterwards either, which felt a bit harsh. It felt a bit harsh. It's like you've got these 2 ranked women that are in was it 4th and 6th in the flyweight division.
I don't know what was the thinking behind that. I mean, because there was some fantastic stuff, showcasing women's MMA. I mean, we'll get on to Joe Wood next. But before that as well, we should also say that they inducted Joanna into the Hall of Fame, and a lovely little bit of VT in that showing Joanna's ridiculous career. I did think it was strange on the VT that they showed so much of the Zhang fight, and it was like, God, this is her moment, and you're showing her with her monster head, and
But it is iconic, isn't it? And I think it's one of those ones where, even in the loss, Joanna's stock rose
ridiculous.
because everyone's like, this is one of the toughest women we've ever seen.
Yeah.
The fact that she has a
shadow.
second head
Like-
and she is just still fighting through this and chucking them, it was great.
And she's just a savage, you know. Them face-offs where she dropped down low, and she looked terrifying.
Terrifying.
You know. She looked, and her fight style was terrifying.
Yeah.
And she
did to Carla Esparza.
Oh my
was
God.
Just that was like.
Please-
the ref
please
stepped in
stop.
for mercy. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you were just saying, please stop on the TV. Like,
Yeah.
please just stop this. This is going to go badly. So great stuff for Joanna. But in terms of the Macy Barber Sarah Minor fight, Barber finds herself now in the top 4. We've Blanchfield's fighting Fiorot coming up. That'll be a number 1 contender fight, you would imagine. But they've just announced Shevchenko's fighting Grasso after Tough. So that's going to drag that division out for a little bit longer, which is kind of annoying. So I don't really know what you do now. If you're Macy Barber, you're like, well, I think she's on a decent win streak. Is she going to have to fight behind her just to keep momentum going? Because otherwise... Or unless the winner of Blanchfield-Fiorot, they're just told, look, you're not going to fight for a year because we've got to do Tough and then we've got to do Shevchenko-Grasso 3. You might as well fight Barber, which sucks because Blanchfield or Fiorot, if they win, have done enough to get a title shot.
100%.
But I don't know. That's what we have to see what happens there. But I don't think anyone's overly intrigued. In terms of Joanne Wood,
Lovely.
what a career. I mean,
you mentioned Shevchenko. It very nearly happened, didn't it? And I think it was it COVID that...
No, it was... It's horrible. She decided she didn't have enough money, which sucks for someone who could have fought for a belt, and it just doesn't feel right. But she needed to take a fight. She was next up against Valentina Shevchenko, a fight that, let's be honest, Shevchenko would have been hugely favoured in.
Yeah, of course.
But she was next up to fight Shevchenko, and what she decided was she had to fight for money, and she fought Jennifer Maia, and she lost. And then that was it. She couldn't get back to the belt after that. Would she have beaten Shevchenko? I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
But
it's nice to have on the resume, isn't it?
Would it have been nice to have on the resume that she fought for a belt after such a long career and just giving it her all at all times? She's someone that always came to fight. We spoke about this on the pre-show. She's always gave it, always chucking elbows and knees and just walking through the fire. Spinning back fisting. I mean, lost round 1. Round 2, she kind of maybe squeaked out. And then round 3, nearly got the finish. It would have been the cherry on the cake if she'd have just got the finish there over Morose. But I think avenges that loss as well. She had lost to Morose by armbar, so avenged the loss. And again, it's very rare that we get MMA fighters that on their last fight go out with a win. Like Robbie Lawler was like the pinnacle of that. You've got, well, I say pinnacle, obviously you've got Khabib and GSP, but they are so rare to really be at the top of the division. Outside of that, you've got Robbie Lawler. And now maybe you've got Joanne Wood.
Yeah.
Because most people go the way of a Frankie Edgar getting kneed in the face by Chris Gutierrez, a fighter that is decent, but is he going to be a champ one day? I don't think so. Yeah. Shogun Hua getting beat by, was it Portiera or someone like that? Again, you're like, this is not the way we want these legends to go out.
Absolutely. So, a massive name for UK MMA, and got to see her fight a few times. She's on the poster behind us here in the studio when she fought Casey Sanchez in Glasgow. And seeing JoJo walk out in Glasgow was fantastic. I mean, that's I'm sure something that she's never going to forget. The whole of Scotland screaming, "Let's go, JoJo!" No. And we've had Joanne on the podcast. So go check her out. It was quite early on, wasn't it? Maybe
it was very early
years ago now.
I remember being at Whipsnade Zoo and emailing Danny Rubenstein, her manager, because JoJo you can't contact on like socials and stuff like that. And I was emailing her manager, and we'd done about 4 or 5 episodes by this point. Yeah. And Danny Rubenstein, I think, is quite a big name in the MMA world. Yeah. And I was doing an email back and forth with him to try and get JoJo on this tiny little podcast that had done 4 episodes. And when he came back to me saying, JoJo's up for it, I remember I was with like my in-laws and stuff, and I was just like, yes. I was like, by the monkeys, like, yes. And I was like calling you. I was like, I just got Jojo Wood. I was really excited. So I've always got a real soft spot for Jojo in my heart. Really, really lovely girl. And all action, great fighter. Did she reach the pinnacle of the sport? No. But was she just brilliant to watch?
Yes, absolutely.
In terms of someone who maybe could reach the pinnacle of the sport, but is also one of the most exciting fighters on the entire roster, one of my favourite fighters, Michel Pereira, against Oleg Zaitchik, who himself has got a bunch of first and second round finishes, really exciting fighter. Did you watch this fight?
No, I didn't see this fight.
Oh my God. Outrageous.
Yeah.
You have to watch it. It lasts about 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Pereira just lands a body shot from hell across to the body. It just crumbles up Oleg Zaitchik, follows him to the back, towards the cage, tries to land a knee, grabs him almost like around the neck, spins him around 360 degrees so his back's back against the fence. I don't know why he did it, but then landed a knee to the body. Oleg Zaitchik just crumbles down. And then as he does that, Michel Pereira's already got him in like a lock around his throat, and it gets the rear naked choke in, but without the hook, just squeezes him out. And Oleg Zaitchik has no choice but to tap. But it was such a dominant performance. And Oleg Zaitchik is no joke.
Yeah.
Give Michel Pereira someone good.
Yeah.
Please give him someone big. Give him someone really high up the rankings. This guy is so fun. He wants to fight at UFC 301 in Rio. He is Brazilian. I'm looking at the middleweight rankings now. Marvin Vettori's fighting Brendan Allen, so that can't happen. Jared Cannonier, I don't know if he's booked up. I should look that up, but I mean, that fight would work. Paulo Costa, another Brazilian. Do that in Rio. But I'd love to see if Jared Cannonier is free and able to fight, or if he's injured or what, because I just want to see Michel Pereira rocketed up the rankings. He's too good. I know he had his problems at weight at welterweight, but Jesus, this man is so exciting. He's one of the best, most exciting middleweights out there, and I just want to see him fight big fights and really see how far he can go, because he's calmed it down a little bit. He's not quite doing the backflips on people while they're on the ground anymore, as much as I miss those.
Mate, amazing.
But he's still just an absolute demolition man at that weight class. And yeah, he's on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fight win streak across the 2 weight classes. Obviously, he had those problems with Wonderboy where he missed weight, and Wonderboy didn't want to take that fight. And I don't blame Wonderboy at all. But yeah, Michel Pereira is something else, and I just want to check on whether Jared Cannonier is fit. But I like the idea of him fighting Paulo Costa, and I like the idea of, I've spelt Jared wrong, so I don't know why that's not coming up. Well,
I mean, if he could drop to welterweight, MVP, that'd be an interesting
just
fight.
let MVP go up. If MVP ends up with a loss at some point, and you're like, oh, he's getting old, let's just give him some fun fights. MVP, don't cut weight. Just go and fight Michel Pereira at middleweight. I would watch that all day long.
Yeah.
Cannonier does not have a fight booked at the moment. Cancelled bout recently with Roman Dolidze back in December because he tore his MCL, so he's probably not going to be fit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a shame. Unless Cannonier can come back quick from this MCL tear, I don't know, but give me Michel Pereira fighting a broomstick. I will watch it.
Yeah.
But him versus Paulo Costa in Rio.
Yeah, mate.
I know. I've heard that Brazilians don't really like watching Brazil fight versus Brazil fights, but
You ain't going to turn your nose up at that, mate.
nah, man, that is going to be chaos. And I think Pereira could win it. I mean, the only thing is, Costa's got another guy with like a chin on him.
Yeah.
Like we saw what Robert Whittaker did to him, and he still just ate all those shots.
Yeah.
Pereira would have to have a decent gas tank to get through all the rounds.
Yeah.
But man, I want to see it.
Yeah.
It fills me
100%.
with joy.
100%. Right. Are we done today?
We're technically done. I mean, look, we mentioned Kyler Phillips earlier, who got a fantastic win, looked really good against Munoz, and I want him to fight a ranked guy next. But other than that, not really got much else to say on the matter.
All right. Well, look, we're going to be dropping another show this week. We're going to be doing a reaction, as Blake mentioned earlier, to the Francis Ngannou and the Joshua fight. We will also be talking about The madness, or is it madness, of Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Listen to that show to find out what we make of that. And also today we're recording with UFC star Reese McGee, former UFC star, then McKee, sorry. I just had Court McGee in my head because Court McGee just had a fight announced with... Who's he just been announced to fight? Anyway, ignore that. Reese McGee, who was a former UFC fighter...
Former UFC fighter, obviously.
Had the harshest entry into the UFC.
Just a guy called Hamzat Chimaev. Don't worry about it.
Then went back to Cage Warriors and
won the belt again.
Won the belt, and he's back again now. So we're going to talk about that journey with Reese, one of the sort of big stars of the Irish MMA scene. So make sure you subscribe in that little thing below. If you're watching us on YouTube, click subscribe. Let us know what you thought of today's show. Let us know what you make of the fights at the weekend, what you think could be next for all the fighters that have got wins and losses, and get them old algorithms going, because we're trying to grow the show, and it's with your help that we can do that. So thanks ever so much for being part of this and listening or watching, and we hope you're enjoying what we do, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.